I gotta say, Tim Hortons in Glasgow, it's improving. It was hot trash at first, but it's slowly getting better. Look at my fucking view. That's the view of my bedroom. Letter number 2, let's go. Hey Ben, my name's David. Hey David. I'm in a completely different country. I've had to learn a new language. I can't stop feeling like I don't belong. How did you deal with being away from family, friends, being effectively on your own for the first time? I'd love to hear your thoughts. For those who don't know, I'm not from Glasgow. I'm a boy from Canada, that's why I have this shit. Boy from Canada who's living in this gorgeous city that, wow, look at that. Excuse me while I be transfixed with my view for a second. It's a very good question. I managed after a good amount of time to finally find my own place in this city. I can now call Glasgow my city, which is a really nice thing to think. Basically, I'm going to talk to myself from the past. This may not apply to you, David, but maybe this will help in some way. The first video I ever made was a video called How to Survive in a New City. It's very bad. Looking back on that, I was so freaking naive. I had no idea what I was doing. And that's the key thing, always knowing that when you arrive in a new city, you have no idea what you're doing. When you first get to a new city, it's gonna suck. Sorry, but it's just gonna be the hardest thing. Being completely away from everything that you've ever known as home is just ridiculous. Like, it does something to your body physically. You feel like an intense kind of loneliness that is unprecedented in your life. At first, you'll be inclined to talk to your family and your friends every single day, and that's totally fine. That's a very healthy way of dealing with things. There's a culture shock that you need to cope with, and that's a very effective way to do so. But after a while, constantly staying in touch with all those friends and family will start to limit you a little bit. Now that your old life is now somewhere else, you have to cope with developing a new one. It's a very vital stage in moving. You have to transplant your world to what's actually around you. And this is done by making friends. Yeah. I went through the first year of uni not really hanging out with anyone. In fact, I spent every single day on Skype with my girlfriend at the time. And while that was super comforting and lovely, it didn't really help me move forward. Because now that you have something behind you, you have a home that you've just left and abandoned, you need to go forward, you need to move on. You almost have to get over it. It's like a breakup. And you have to do that by, in a way, cutting off those people that you love and miss so much. University is a great opportunity to do this because you're so caught up in all the work and all the people that you're meeting. The people you meet in your new city may not be the closest friends that you'll ever make. They may not even last that long, but they're people that are going to help you remove yourself from your old life. Obviously, there's times when you'll be able to go visit and you'll be able to re-immerse yourself in it, but you are going to feel changed as a person. Even if you maintain those friendships so closely, you will feel vastly different when you go back to see them again. That life, as far as you know, is kind of over. But that's a very, very good and natural thing. As humans, we live through eras of our own lives, and there's big periods of time, and there's little periods of time. I've spent the last big period of time of mine here in Glasgow, and I have learned more about myself than I have any other point in my life. And we're still going. The important thing to remember is that there's going to be eras after this. So whatever I make my life here, it doesn't mean that that's going to be my life forever. It doesn't mean I have to never speak to those friends again. It just means for a period of time, I built a life in Glasgow. You can only really enjoy your environment, where you are, and what you're doing with your life if you're present. If your heart is where you are. So make your room tidy, organize it nicely. Make some friends, start hanging out with people, get a job or something, go to that workplace and really make it part of your rhythm. Work towards that. It's not going to happen right away, but slowly you'll start to develop a life. And gradually you'll start to talk to your family and friends just a little bit less, and that's a very, very good thing. I just want to keep stressing that it's important that you talk to them at first. That's a very good coping mechanism. But this is what the challenge is. The whole reason that people like us go to different countries is because we need to find something. We need to learn something from the experience. At least we want something a little more dynamic. We want a change in some way, or else we wouldn't be here. So embrace that change. Go with it. Go forward. Recognize that you've just left a big thing behind you that was so important to you, and try to move forward. I was never able to be happy here when my heart was in Canada. It was only by completely immersing myself in my life that I made for myself here that I was able to finally come to a place where I was truly enjoying it. There are inherent values and merits to going to a new country to live. You immerse yourself in a different culture. You see it. You have a new way of seeing the world. It's a very important thing, and I feel like a much more well-rounded individual for it. So just keep in mind that wherever you've left, you probably will eventually go back at some point. That's kind of how home works. It kind of never leaves you. But if you keep that in mind, maybe you can be okay with just living in a different place for a little while. Something I realized recently is that in the end of life, all we're going to have is our stories that we collected. We're just going to be telling the same stories to our grandchildren over and over again, if the planet isn't dead by then. And what good would it be if I was here and I wasn't collecting stories that I could one day tell? Things won't make sense for a long while. You'll have no idea what's happening. You'll be so confused. You'll feel lost. You'll feel completely alone, like you don't fit in. But you are there for a reason. Think back to 5 years about a crappy time in your life. You learned something from that, right? I don't think there's a crappy situation in which we all haven't at least learned something. I think that's what crappy times are for. But you only learn from a situation after it's over, after you've walked away from it and had a moment to think about it. The whole reason that humans have anxieties about life is because we can't see the future. But it's already there. We're just experiencing time. We're just experiencing time through one direction. The story of my life, I'll take her home. This is just the way that we're experiencing time. If you think about it, the future's kind of already exists. We just haven't lived it yet. We're getting there. I don't regret my last relationship because I learned so much from it. If I look back on my life, I can see like story threads. I can see rising action, falling action, a plot twist, a climax, and a resolution. and I know that the hard times are all there just to teach me something, and that I was always supposed to have gone through that. As weird and crappy as it feels when you first get there and you feel completely isolated, just remember that it's gonna get better, and that you're supposed to do that by believing in yourself, because it's only really gonna come from you. The strength to get through that is really only gonna come from you. Because now I've reached a point where I can just look to the left and just be in complete awe. So if you're going to school, make friends with as many people in the school as you can. If you have a job, chat to your work buddies, maybe hang out with them after work sometime. Try to make as many connections as you can to try and build something. Try and build a life. And a life comes through connections with people. Get Tinder, make friends on Tinder. If you want to send me a letter, send me an email. I read every single email I've gotten. I've gotten a whole bunch of interesting things, and people have been sending me art and stuff. There's a cool poem, like 3 really great songs. I love my little P.O. box. Please send in more. I'll make videos when I have time, god damn it. I'm trying to play Peter Pan in the Christmas play. I got the lead part, woo! Enjoy yourselves. Have a good day. I'm just gonna keep looking to the left for a little bit.